You should have left when I warned you.
Amara!
They said the baby shouldn't exist.
Her eyelids flutter. Her grip loosens. Joon-Seo looks up at his mother standing above them. And for the first time in his 32 years of life, he pulls a gun from the waistband of his pants and points it directly at her heart. His hand doesn't shake. His face shows nothing but cold calculation and something darker, something that looks like grief turning into rage. The estate holds its breath. If you love intense Afro-Korean romance filled with power, danger, and forbidden love, subscribe to Oyinelle Afro-Korean Romance right now. Hit that like button, share this video with someone who lives for dramatic love stories, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and what part of this episode already has your heart racing. Now let's get back to this chaos. The emergency lights of Hanul City General Hospital flash red and white across Joon-Seo's face, as he stands in the sterile hallway watching doctors rush Amara through double doors. His knuckles are split and bleeding from punching the concrete wall outside. He doesn't feel the pain. He doesn't feel anything except the memory of her blood on his hands, and the weight of the choice he just made when he lowered that gun instead of pulling the trigger. A nurse tries to approach him, but his head of security, Min-jae, intercepts her with a sharp gesture. The hallway clears. Only Joon-Seo remains, standing like a statue in his blood-soaked shirt, staring at the doors that swallowed the only person who ever made him feel human. 3 hours pass like centuries. The surgeon finally emerges, pulling off his mask. His expression is carefully neutral, but Joon-Seo has spent his entire life reading faces for lies, and this man is choosing his words with the precision of someone delivering news that could get him killed. She's stable. The bleeding has stopped. We managed to repair the internal damage from the fall. Joon-Seo's jaw tightens. And the baby? The doctor's pause lasts 2 seconds too long. Barely. The next 48 hours are critical. Any stress, any complication, and we could lose them both. The words hit like bullets, but Joon-Seo's face reveals nothing. He nods once and the doctor retreats quickly, sensing the violence simmering beneath that calm exterior. Min-jae appears at his shoulder with a tablet, his face grim. "Sir, you need to see this." The security footage plays in grainy black and white. Timestamp shows 11:47 p.m. A housekeeper enters Amara's private wing carrying fresh linens. Her face is partially obscured, but her movements are efficient and practiced. She disappears into Amara's bedroom. For minutes later, Amara stumbles into the hallway, her hand pressed against her stomach, her face twisted in pain. She makes it 3 steps before her legs give out, and she tumbles down the stairs in a horrifying cascade of white fabric and flailing limbs. The housekeeper never reappears on camera. Joon-Seo watches it 3 times, his expression growing colder with each replay. "Find her." "Already tried, sir. She's gone. Vanished. Her apartment is empty and her phone is dead. We're checking all the usual exit points, but whoever planned this gave her a good extraction plan." "My mother." Min-jae shifts uncomfortably. Madam Choi was in her quarters all evening. Multiple witnesses confirm it. She couldn't have physically done this. But she ordered it. Joon-Seo's voice is flat, factual. "Get me every piece of communication from that housekeeper's phone for the last month. Bank records. Family connections. Everything." He turns toward the ICU, but Min-jae's next words stop him cold. "Sir, your mother is here. She's demanding to see you." Joon-Seo finds her in a private waiting room, sitting with perfect posture in a leather chair. Her hands folded in her lap like she's attending a board meeting instead of waiting outside the room where his pregnant girlfriend fights for her life. She doesn't stand when he enters. She doesn't even look up. "Close the door." He does, but he doesn't sit. He stands over her and waits. Madam Choi finally meets his eyes and her expression is one of profound disappointment, as if he's a promising student who has just failed a critical test. "You pointed a gun at your own mother. You tried to kill the woman carrying your grandchild. I did no such thing." Her voice is ice. "I warned her. I told her what this life would cost. I offered her money, opportunities, a fresh start anywhere in the world. She chose to stay and now she's learned the price of that choice. You're saying you didn't order this? I'm saying that girl was never going to survive in our world. Whether I acted or not is irrelevant. The Syndicate will not accept foreign blood in the warring line. Your uncle already has half the board convinced you're compromised. Investors are pulling out. Our political allies are making contingency plans. You are destroying everything your father built for a woman you barely know. Joon-Seo leans down until his face is inches from hers, and his voice drops to a whisper that somehow carries more threat than any shout. If she dies, I will burn this entire empire to the ground, starting with you. He walks out before she can respond, leaving her alone in that sterile room with the first genuine fear she's felt in 20 years flickering behind her eyes. 2 days later, Amara wakes up in a room that isn't the hospital. She blinks against harsh sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and tries to sit up, but pain lances through her abdomen, forcing her back against the pillows. The room is small but expensively furnished, all neutral tones and minimalist design. Through the window she can see dense forest and distant mountains. No city lights. No familiar landmarks. The door opens and Joon-Seo enters carrying a tray with soup and tea. He looks like he hasn't slept since the fall, his face drawn and shadowed, but his eyes light up when he sees her awake. Where am I? Her voice is rough from disuse. Somewhere safe. A private estate outside Hanul City. Only 3 people know this location. He sets the tray on the bedside table and sits carefully on the edge of the bed, his hand finding hers. She lets him hold it, but her expression is wary, haunted by memories of blood and stares and the cold face of his mother looking down at her broken body. Your mother tried to kill me. My uncle tried to kill you. We have evidence now. The housekeeper was on his payroll. She put something in your tea that caused the hemorrhaging and the fall. Amara's free hand moves instinctively to her stomach. The baby. Still fighting. Like their mother. His thumb traces circles on the back of her hand. You need rest. No stress. No complications. Your entire family wants me dead, Joon-Seo. How am I supposed to rest? He doesn't have an answer for that, so he just holds her hand tighter and watches her fall back asleep, her face still too pale, her breathing still too shallow. When he's sure she's unconscious, he steps into the hallway where Min-jae is waiting with another tablet and another problem. Your uncle called an emergency syndicate meeting. Tomorrow at noon. They're voting on your leadership. Joon-Seo expected this, but the timeline is faster than he anticipated. On what grounds? Compromised judgment. Emotional instability. Endangering syndicate interests for personal attachment. They have affidavits from board members, statements from family elders, even testimony from some of your own security team claiming you've become unpredictable. Kang Dae-hyun has been planning this for months. Years probably. He's been waiting for you to show weakness, and apparently loving someone qualifies. Min-jae's voice is carefully neutral, but there's an edge to it. A question he's not quite asking. Joon-Seo answers it anyway. I'm not stepping down. Then you're going to war with your own family. Half the syndicate is already choosing sides. This gets bloody, sir. Really bloody. It was always going to get bloody. They just chose the timing. He goes back inside to watch Amara sleep, and to prepare for the kind of battle that has no winners, only survivors. The emergency syndicate meeting takes place in the old Warang building downtown. A fortress of glass and steel that has witnessed 50 years of deals and betrayals. Joon-Seo arrives exactly on time, flanked by Min-jae and 2 other loyal guards. The conference room is packed with board members, family elders and investors, all of them watching him with varying degrees of hostility and curiosity. Kang Dae-hyun sits at the head of the table like he already owns it, his silver hair perfectly styled, his suit custom-tailored, his smile sharp as a knife. He stands when Joon-Seo enters and spreads his hands in a gesture of false warmth. Nephew, thank you for joining us. We were just discussing the future of the Warang Syndicate and your role in it. Joon-Seo takes his seat without responding, his face a mask of cold professionalism. Around the table, the vultures circle. Lee Sang-min from the financial division. Park Ji-woo who controls the political connections. Kim Yun-soo who manages the legitimate business fronts. All of them powerful. All of them ambitious. All of them smelling blood in the water. Dae-hyun doesn't waste time. Let's be direct. Your father built this organization on 3 principles: family, loyalty, legacy. In the past 6 months, you've compromised all 3 for a woman with no ties to our world, no understanding of our culture, and no place in our future. Her name is Amara. Her name is irrelevant. What matters is that she's a liability. Someone already tried to remove that liability, and instead of thanking them for protecting Syndicate interests, you launched a vendetta that has cost us lives and money. Joon-Seo's laugh is cold and humorless. Someone tried to murder my child. You're asking me to thank them. I'm asking you to remember that this syndicate is bigger than your personal feelings. We have investors who are spooked, politicians who are reconsidering their support, business partners who are questioning whether the next warring heir has the judgment to lead. Dae-hyun leans forward. The board has drafted a proposal. Step down voluntarily. Take a sabbatical. Let someone with clear judgment guide us through this transition. In exchange, we protect you and your woman. Full security, financial support, a quiet life somewhere far from this world. And if I refuse? Then we vote. And I think you'll find that sentiment has shifted significantly in recent weeks. The room goes silent. Joon-Seo can feel the calculation happening behind every pair of eyes, each person weighing their loyalty against their self-interest. He spent his whole life learning to read these moments, and what he sees now is a coup that's been carefully orchestrated over months, maybe years. His uncle hasn't just turned the board against him. He's given them an ideological justification for betrayal. He's made removing Joon-Seo look like saving the syndicate. Joon-Seo stands slowly and every eye tracks him. When he speaks, his voice carries the absolute authority of someone who was born to lead and has no intention of surrendering that birthright. You want to vote? Vote. But understand what you're choosing. My father built this syndicate through violence and vision. I've expanded it through strategy and control. Under my leadership, we've doubled our revenue, tripled our political influence, and eliminated every serious threat to our operations. You think my uncle can do better? Let's see his numbers. Let's see his plans. Let's see anything beyond his ambition and your fear. He turns to face Dae-hyun directly. You talk about family and loyalty, but you're the one who paid a housekeeper to poison a pregnant woman. You're the one who's been secretly negotiating with the Nakamura syndicate to carve up our territory. You're the one who's been embezzling funds through offshore accounts in Malaysia and Singapore. Should I continue? The room erupts. Dae-hyun's face goes white, then red, then purple. Board members start shouting questions and accusations. Min-jae steps forward with a tablet and projects financial records onto the screen at the front of the room. Page after page of evidence showing Dae-hyun's betrayals in black and white. Joon-Seo watches his uncle's empire crumble in real time and feels nothing but cold satisfaction. Vote if you want. But understand that I have files on everyone in this room. Every secret. Every crime. Every vulnerability. You remove me, and I release everything. The syndicate doesn't survive that kind of exposure. None of us do. He walks out while they're still processing the threat, leaving chaos and shouting in his wake. Min-jae follows, barely suppressing a grin. That was bold, sir. That was necessary. How long before they choose sides? Hours. Maybe minutes. Dae-hyun just lost half his support, but the other half is going to dig in harder. This isn't over. I know. Get everyone on high alert. If he's desperate enough, he'll move tonight. Joon-Seo is right. The attack comes at 2 in the morning. Amara wakes to the sound of breaking glass and automatic gunfire. She scrambles out of bed, pain shooting through her still healing body, and looks around wildly for Joon-Seo. He's already moving, gun in hand, his body between her and the door. Panic room. Now. He half carries her across the bedroom to a bookshelf that swings open to reveal a reinforced steel door. She stumbles inside and he follows, slamming the door shut just as bullets tear through the bedroom wall. The panic room is small and soundproofed, equipped with monitors showing security feeds from around the property. On the screens, armed men in black tactical gear pour through breached windows and doors. At least a dozen of them, maybe more. Min-jae and the other guards are returning fire, but they're outnumbered and outgunned. This isn't a warning. This is an extermination. Amara's hands shake as she watches the violence unfold on screen. They're going to kill us. They're going to try. Joon-Seo's phone rings and he answers it without taking his eyes off the monitors. Dae-hyun. I was wondering when you'd call. His uncle's voice comes through tinny and triumphant. Last chance, nephew. Walk away. Leave the woman. Disappear. Or everyone in that house dies in the next 10 minutes. You really think you can kill me and take over the syndicate? The board will never accept you after this. The board will accept whoever's left standing. That's how this world works. You should have learned that from your father. Joon-Seo hangs up and makes another call, this one to a number he's never dialed before. When someone answers, he speaks 3 words. Execute Protocol 7. He puts the phone away and looks at Amara, really looks at her. Memorizing her face like this might be the last time. I need you to trust me. I don't even know you anymore. Yes, you do. You know exactly who I am. You've always known. I'm a man who destroys his enemies completely. And right now my uncle is my enemy. On the monitors, one of the attacking mercenaries suddenly drops, blood exploding from his chest. Then another. Then 3 more. Confusion ripples through the assault team as bullets start coming from outside the property, from positions they didn't expect. Counter-snipers. Reinforcements. An entire secondary security team that Joon-Seo kept hidden even from his own people. The tide turns in 90 seconds. The attacking force breaks and runs, leaving bodies behind. Min-jae's voice comes through the intercom, breathless but alive. Sir, we're clear. Hostiles are retreating. We have 3 prisoners. Joon-Seo doesn't celebrate. He helps Amara to her feet and leads her out of the panic room, through the bullet-riddled bedroom, past the bodies in the hallway. She's shaking so hard she can barely walk, but she refuses to close her eyes. Refuses to look away from the reality of the world she's chosen to stay in. Outside, dawn is breaking over the mountains. Min-jae has the 3 surviving mercenaries on their knees, zip-tied and bleeding. Joon-Seo walks up to the one in the middle and crouches down to eye level. Who paid you? The man spits blood and stays silent. Joon-Seo sighs and pulls out his phone, dialing another number. When it connects, he puts it on speaker. Kim. It's Warang. I need you to access the offshore accounts we discussed. Transfer everything in Kang Dae-hyun's holdings to the Syndicate General Fund. Yes, all of it. And release the files to our political contacts. He's done. He hangs up and stands, looking down at the mercenary with something like pity. You picked the wrong side. But Amara isn't watching the prisoners. She's watching Joon-Seo and seeing him clearly for the first time. Not the man who held her in the hospital. Not the protector who moved her to a safe house. The real Joon-Seo. The one who can order financial executions with a phone call. The one who keeps secret armies in reserve. The one who plays chess with human lives and never shows mercy to the pieces he removes from the board. She turns and walks back into the damaged house, her hand pressed against her stomach, feeling the baby move inside her like a question she doesn't know how to answer. Later that morning, Joon-Seo finds her in the kitchen, staring at a cup of tea she hasn't touched. He sits down across from her and waits. She's learned that about him. He never pushes. He just waits with infinite patience for the world to conform to his will. I can't do this anymore, she says finally. Yes, you can. They tried to kill me, Joon-Seo. They tried to kill our baby. And they're going to keep trying because I don't belong in your world, and everyone knows it except you. You belong wherever I say you belong. That's not how this works. That's not how love works. He reaches across the table and takes her hand, his thumb finding her pulse point like he's checking to make sure she's still real. I never asked for love. I never wanted it. It was a weakness I couldn't afford. But then you showed up at that gallery opening in your green dress, and you looked at my art like it meant something, and for the first time in my life, I felt seen. Not feared. Not respected. Seen. And I knew right then that I would burn down everything to keep that feeling. That's not love, that's obsession. Maybe. But it's all I have to give. She pulls her hand away and stands, her chair scraping against the floor. I heard them talking yesterday. Min-jae and one of the guards. They said if you don't step down, the board is going to force a political marriage. Some heiress from a connected family. They said it's the only way to stabilize your position and secure the syndicate's future. Joon-Seo's expression doesn't change, but something dangerous flickers behind his eyes. Who told you that? Does it matter? Is it true? It's a proposal. One of many. I rejected it. But they're still pushing for it. Because I'm the problem. I'm the foreign girl who doesn't understand your culture, who threatens your legacy, who makes you weak in front of your enemies. And as long as I'm here, you'll never be secure. She walks to the window and stares out at the mountains, her reflection ghostly in the glass. I'm leaving. No. You can't stop me. Actually, I can. You're in a safe house I own, surrounded by guards I pay, in a country where you have no passport because I have it locked in a safe. You're not leaving unless I let you go. She turns to face him and her eyes are full of tears and fury. So I'm a prisoner now? You're protected. There's a difference. Not to me. They stare at each other across the kitchen, and the silence stretches like a wire pulled too tight. Finally, Joon-Seo stands and walks out without another word, leaving her alone with her anger and her fear, and the terrible knowledge that she's falling in love with a man who might destroy her just by trying to keep her safe. That afternoon, Min-jae brings news that changes everything. He finds Joon-Seo in the study, surrounded by security reports and financial statements, planning his next move against his uncle. Sir, we found the housekeeper. Joon-Seo looks up sharply. Where? Busan. Hiding with her sister's family. We have her in custody. And Min-jae shifts uncomfortably. She's talking. But you're not going to like what she's saying. 15 minutes later, Joon-Seo is watching video of the interrogation on a secure feed. The housekeeper is crying, her words tumbling out in a desperate rush. She admits to putting the drug in Amara's tea, but she swears she was told it would just make her sick, not cause a miscarriage. She says she did it because Kang Dae-hyun threatened her daughter, promised to destroy her family if she didn't cooperate. But then she says something that makes Joon-Seo's blood run cold. Madam Choi knew. She didn't order it, but she knew it was happening and she didn't stop it. She told me the foreign girl would either leave or die, and either way, the problem would be solved. The video ends. Joon-Seo sits in silence, processing this confirmation of what he already suspected. His mother might not have pulled the trigger, but she loaded the gun and aimed it at Amara's heart. He finds Amara in their bedroom, packing a small suitcase with the few belongings she has in this borrowed prison. She doesn't look up when he enters. I just confirmed that my mother knew about the attack. She could have stopped it, and she chose not to. Amara's hands still on a folded shirt. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand that this isn't about you being foreign or not understanding our culture. This is about power and control and legacy. My mother would have done this to any woman who threatened her vision of what the Warring family should be. You just happen to be the one I chose. Lucky me. I'm not letting you go. She finally turns to face him, and her expression is something beyond anger, beyond fear, somewhere in the territory of resignation. Then what are we doing, Joon-Seo? I can't live like this. Always running. Always hiding. Always wondering who's going to try to kill me next. That's not a life. That's not a future. That's definitely not something I want for our child. He crosses the room in 3 strides and drops to his knees in front of her, pressing his forehead against her stomach, where their baby grows despite everything trying to stop it. His hands grip her hips, and for the first time since she's known him, she hears his voice crack with something that might be desperation. I never asked for love. But I am not losing you. I am not losing this child. I will end every person who threatens you. I will destroy my own family if that's what it takes. Just don't leave. Please. The please breaks her. She's never heard him beg for anything. Never seen him vulnerable. Her hands move to his hair, threading through the dark strands, and she feels her own resolve crumbling. They'll never accept me. They don't have to. They just have to fear me more than they hate you. She laughs, but it sounds like crying. That's not romantic. It's realistic. This is the world I'm offering you. Not flowers and poetry. Blood and protection. I can keep you safe, but I can't make this easy. I don't know if that's enough. He looks up at her and his eyes are raw with an emotion he's never learned to name. Then tell me what would be enough and I'll give it to you. She opens her mouth to answer, but pain lances through her abdomen, sharp and sudden. She gasps and doubles over, her hand clutching her stomach. Joon-Seo catches her as her legs give out. Amara? What's wrong? The baby. Something's wrong. He's already moving, scooping her into his arms, shouting for Min-jae to get the car. They make it to the hospital in 18 minutes, breaking every traffic law in the city. The doctors rush her into examination and Joon-Seo is left alone in that same sterile hallway where this nightmare started, pacing like a caged animal. The obstetrician comes out an hour later, pulling off her gloves. Her expression is carefully controlled. There's a complication. The placenta is partially detached. If it continues to separate, we'll lose the baby. Maybe the mother too. What do you need? What can I do? Nothing. She needs complete bed rest. No stress. No excitement. No trauma. And even then, it's 50-50 whether this pregnancy survives to term. Joon-Seo nods slowly, absorbing this information like bullets. Can I see her? 5 minutes. She needs to rest. He finds Amara hooked up to monitors, her face pale against white pillows, her hand resting on her stomach. She tries to smile when she sees him, but it doesn't reach her eyes. They told you. He nods and sits in the chair beside her bed, taking her hand. You're going to be okay. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Because I won't accept any other outcome. She squeezes his hand weakly. You can't control everything, Joon-Seo. No matter how powerful you are. Some things are bigger than your will. Before he can respond, the door opens and Madame Choi enters, flanked by 2 bodyguards. She takes in the scene with cold assessment, and then dismisses her guards with a gesture. They hesitate but obey, leaving the 3 of them alone in the sterile room. Joon-Seo stands, positioning himself between his mother and Amara. Get out. I came to talk to the girl. She has a name. Madame Choi ignores him and addresses Amara directly. If you survive this, you will lose everything. My son. The Syndicate. Any hope of a normal life. Your child will grow up hunted by my son's enemies and rejected by his family. Is that really what you want? Amara struggles to sit up despite Joon-Seo's hand on her shoulder trying to keep her down. Her voice is weak but steady. What I want is for people to stop trying to kill me and my baby. What I want is for the man I love to choose me over his legacy. What I want is to stop being afraid every time someone knocks on the door. Then leave. I'm offering you a way out. Money. Protection. A new identity anywhere in the world. You can have your baby in peace, far from this war. And Joon-Seo? My son will do his duty. He'll marry appropriately. Secure the family line. Lead the syndicate. And eventually he'll forget you. Amara looks at Joon-Seo and something passes between them. A question and an answer. He sits back down and takes her hand, and when he speaks, his voice carries absolute finality. Mother, if Amara dies, you die. If our child dies, you die. Not quickly. Not mercifully. I will take everything you love and burn it in front of you before I let you take your last breath. Do you understand me? Madame Choi's face shows nothing but her hands clench slightly at her sides. You would destroy your own mother for a woman you've known less than a year? I would destroy the entire world if it meant keeping her safe. You taught me that. How to be ruthless. How to eliminate threats. How to never show mercy to people who threaten what's mine. You just never imagined you'd end up on the wrong side of that lesson. The monitor beside Amara's bed starts beeping faster, and a nurse rushes in, checking the readings. She's having contractions. You all need to leave. Now. Madame Choi exits without another word, but the look she gives her son on the way out promises that this conversation is far from over. Joon-Seo refuses to leave until doctors physically push him out, and even then he stands outside the door, listening to Amara's labored breathing through the walls. Min-jae finds him there 3 hours later, still standing guard. Sir, your uncle is making his move. He's called a vote for tomorrow morning. Emergency succession. He has enough support to force it through. Let him. Sir. Let him think he's winning. When he's celebrated and drunk on victory, that's when we take everything. And if the vote goes through? If they actually remove you? Joon-Seo's smile is cold and predatory. Then I stop playing by their rules and start playing by mine. Inside the hospital room, Amara feels another contraction rip through her body, and she grips the bed rails hard enough to leave marks. The doctor is saying something about early labor, about risks, about needing to stop the contractions before the baby comes too soon. But all Amara can think about is Madame Choi's face and the terrible knowledge that this child, if it survives, will be born into a war that has no end. She feels a sharp pain that's different from the others and cries out. Nurses rush around her. Monitors scream warnings. The last thing she hears before the world goes dark is a doctor shouting orders, and the sound of her own heartbeat slowing. In the hallway, Joon-Seo hears the alarms and smashes through the door despite nurses trying to stop him. He sees Amara unconscious, sees blood, sees doctors working frantically. Someone grabs his arm and pulls him back. Sir, you need to let them work. He's dragged into the hallway where he collapses against the wall, his hands shaking for the first time in his adult life. Min-jae stands beside him, silent and helpless. Minutes pass like hours. The alarms finally stop. The doctors emerge, faces grim. We've stabilized her for now, but the next few hours will tell us everything. The baby's heartbeat is weak but present. We're doing everything we can. Joon-Seo nods mechanically and then his phone rings. It's a blocked number but he answers anyway, needing something to focus on besides the image of Amara dying in that room. His uncle's voice is smooth and victorious. Nephew, I thought you should know. The vote happened early. Emergency session. You've been removed from leadership effective immediately. The board has appointed me as interim chairman. I'm afraid your time is over. Joon-Seo's laugh is low and dangerous. You think a board vote matters? You think titles mean anything? I built my power on loyalty and fear, not paperwork. Take the position. See how long you survive in it. He hangs up and makes another call, this one to a contact in the media. Release everything. Every file. Every secret. Every crime. I want Kang Dae-hyun destroyed by morning. Sir, that will take down half the syndicate leadership. Good. Burn it all. He ends the call and goes back to standing guard outside Amara's door, waiting for news that will either save him or destroy him completely. Inside, monitors beep steadily. Outside, empires crumble. And somewhere in between, a baby fights for life in a world that doesn't want it to exist. Morning comes with chaos. News breaks simultaneously across every major network. Financial crimes, political corruption, murder, extortion. 50 years of Hwarang syndicate secrets dumped into public view. Stock prices plummet. Politicians scramble to distance themselves. Investigators descend like locusts. Kang Dae-hyun's face is plastered across every screen, along with a dozen other board members. Arrest warrants are issued. Assets are frozen. The carefully constructed facade of legitimacy shatters in hours. Joon-Seo watches it all unfold from Amara's hospital room, his hand holding hers while she sleeps. He's destroyed his own legacy to protect one woman and one unborn child. The syndicate his father built is collapsing. Half his family will be in prison by sunset. And he feels nothing but cold satisfaction. Min-jae enters quietly. Sir, the board is requesting an emergency meeting. They want you to take back leadership. They're saying the vote was made under duress and should be invalidated. Tell them I'll consider it. After they come here and apologize to Amara. Sir, she's unconscious. Then they'll apologize to an unconscious woman. I want every single person who voted against me to come to this hospital room, look at what their choices cost, and beg for another chance. Some of them are already in custody. Then they can apologize from holding cells. I don't care. This is not negotiable. Min-jae bows slightly and leaves to deliver the impossible demand. Joon-Seo turns back to Amara and smooths hair away from her face. The monitors show steady heartbeat for both her and the baby. The doctor said if they make it through today, survival odds increase dramatically. He's betting everything on one more day. Amara wakes as the sun sets, painting the hospital room in shades of orange and gold. She turns her head and finds Joon-Seo asleep in the chair beside her bed. his hand still clasped around hers. For a moment she just watches him. This dangerous man who has killed for her, who has destroyed his own empire to keep her safe, who looks almost peaceful in sleep. She squeezes his hand and his eyes snap open immediately, alert and focused. You're awake. How long was I out? 14 hours. The doctors say you're stable. The baby is stable. We made it through the critical period. She exhales shakily and touches her stomach. I heard alarms. I thought we were dying. You almost did. Both of you. But you're fighters. He stands and leans over to kiss her forehead gently. I took care of the threat. Your uncle will spend the rest of his life in prison, along with half the people who supported him. I released every secret the Syndicate has been hiding for 50 years. By tomorrow, my family's empire will be rubble. Amara stares at him in shock. You destroyed everything. I destroyed a rotting structure built on lies and violence. What I'm building now will be different. Smaller. Cleaner. And it will have you and our child at the center of it instead of at the mercy of it. Joon-Seo, people will come after you for this. Everyone you exposed. Everyone who lost money. Everyone who's going to prison because of what you did. Let them try. I have enough loyal people left to build something new. And enough fear in the hearts of my enemies to keep them at bay while we do it. She wants to argue but exhaustion pulls at her, and the baby kicks gently as if reminding her that some battles aren't worth fighting right now. What happens next? Next you rest. You heal. You carry our child to term. And when you're ready, I'm going to ask you a question. What question? The one I should have asked before everything went to hell. But I needed you to see the worst of me first. The violence. The ruthlessness. The absolute lack of mercy I show my enemies. I needed you to know exactly what kind of monster you'd be choosing before I asked you to choose. And now that I know. He sits back down and takes both her hands in his. Now I'm asking. Marry me. Not because it's strategic or necessary or expected. Marry me because despite everything, despite all the blood and chaos, I love you more than I love power. And that's something I never thought I'd be able to say. Amara feels tears sliding down her face, and she doesn't know if they're from joy or exhaustion, or the overwhelming relief of being alive. That's the worst proposal I've ever heard. It's the only one you're going to get. Then I guess my answer is yes. He kisses her then, soft and careful like she's made of glass. And for just a moment the world outside that hospital room doesn't exist. There's no syndicate. No enemies. No war. Just two people who found each other in the worst possible circumstances and decided to hold on anyway. The moment breaks when the door opens and a nurse enters, followed by 3 board members in expensive suits, all of them looking deeply uncomfortable. They stop just inside the door, glancing at each other nervously. Joon-Seo doesn't stand. Well, the eldest of them, Lee Sang-min, steps forward and bows deeply. We were wrong. We allowed fear and tradition to cloud our judgment. We failed to protect you and your family. And for that, we apologize to both you and Miss Bassi. The other 2 echo the apology, bowing in unison. Amara watches in stunned silence as these powerful men humble themselves in front of her hospital bed. Joon-Seo's expression doesn't change. Your apology is noted. Now get out and start cleaning up the mess you made. I want a full restructuring proposal on my desk in 48 hours. Half the board positions are now open. We're going to fill them with people who understand that loyalty means something. The men retreat quickly, relief evident on their faces. When they're gone, Amara turns to Joon-Seo with raised eyebrows. You made them apologize to me while I'm in a hospital bed? I made them acknowledge that you matter. That hurting you has consequences. That's the only language they understand. She should probably be disturbed by this, but instead she feels oddly touched. You're insane. Probably. But I'm your kind of insane now. The next 2 weeks pass in a strange bubble of recovery and reconstruction. Amara remains in the hospital under careful monitoring while Joon-Seo rebuilds the syndicate from the ground up. Half the old leadership is in prison or exile. New people rise to fill the gaps. People loyal to Joon-Seo personally rather than to the warring name. Madame Choi is placed under house arrest in her private estate. Joon-Seo visits her once and the conversation lasts less than 5 minutes. When he leaves, she understands that her role in his life is finished. She can live in comfort, but she will never again have power over her son or influence over his decisions. 3 weeks after the attack, doctors finally clear Amara to leave the hospital. Joon-Seo brings her not to the safe house or to the main estate, but to a new apartment he's purchased in a quiet neighborhood. Anonymous and secure. It's smaller than any place he's ever lived, just 3 bedrooms and a view of a public park instead of mountains or city skyline. She walks through it slowly, taking in the simple furniture and the room he's already set up as a nursery. This is different. I thought maybe we could try different. Less guards. Less formality. Just us figuring out how to be a family. What about the Syndicate? I have offices for Syndicate business. This is home. They're separate now. She turns to face him and sees the truth in his eyes. He's actually trying. Not just to protect her, but to build something with her. A life instead of just survival. Okay, let's try different. That night they sleep in a bed with no panic room beneath it, and no guards directly outside the door. Just 2 people and a baby on the way and the fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, they can build something real from the ashes of everything they've destroyed. Weeks pass into months. Amara's belly swells. The baby grows stronger. The Syndicate stabilizes under new leadership. Enemies still circle, but they circle cautiously now, having learned the price of threatening what Joon-Seo claims as his. On a quiet Tuesday evening, Amara goes into labor. Not dramatic or violent. Just natural and inevitable. Joon-Seo drives her to the hospital himself. No security convoy, no armed guards. Just them. 12 hours later, at 4 in the morning, their daughter is born. Small and perfect and screaming with the kind of rage that promises she'll be trouble. Joon-Seo holds her for the first time, and something in his face transforms. All the coldness and calculation melts away, and what's left is wonder. Pure. Un filter de wonder. She has your eyes. Amara says from the bed, exhausted but smiling. She has your strength. Look at her. She survived everything we put her through and came out fighting. He brings the baby to Amara and they sit together, 3 people who weren't supposed to exist as a family, but do anyway. Outside, dawn breaks over Hanul City. Somewhere in the sprawling metropolis, the warring Syndicate continues its business. But in this moment in this room, they're just a man and a woman and a baby who defied every expectation to be born. Amara reaches up and touches Joon-Seo's face. We made it. We did. What do we name her? He thinks for a long moment, looking at his daughter's tiny face. Yivo. It means wisdom and protection. She's going to need both. Yivo basihavarang. The first of her kind. Amara kisses the baby's forehead, and then leans her head against Joon-Seo's shoulder. The first of many, maybe. He wraps his arm around both of them, and for the first time in his violent life, Joon-Seo understands what peace feels like. Not the absence of enemies. Not the end of conflict. Just this moment. This family. This choice to protect instead of destroy. The future is uncertain. Threats will come. Enemies will test their resolve. But right now, holding his daughter while the woman he loves recovers beside him, Joon-Seo makes a promise to both of them. Whatever comes next, they face it together. And anyone who tries to tear them apart will learn exactly how ruthless a man can be when he's protecting the only thing in the world that makes him feel human. If you made it this far, you incredible viewer, please subscribe to Oyinelle AfroKorean Romance right now because we're just getting started with this family's story. Hit that like button, share this with someone who needs an intense love story in their life, and comment below where you're watching from and what moment in this episode had you holding your breath. Part 3 is coming and you won't believe what happens when old enemies return and new threats emerge. Don't miss it.